what we've been learning the last few weeks has been an attempt to do our best to realize that we could become hasidim. We could become righteous, holy people. We could become people of mamish, big minds, deep thoughts, holiness. We could literally become holy people when we pay attention to that which makes us tick, to everything that makes us tick, all the physical stuff that makes us tick. Not just, that was the chiddush, not just looking at the things that make us fly and feel all, but actually the things that make us tick down here in this world. Paying more attention to it, inviting more consciousness and awareness to all the little things. Mamash, that's what he was saying. Until slowly, each area in my life, whether it's the way, honestly, the way that I take out the garbage in the morning, or the way that I approach going to bed, the way, I noticed the last few days, the consciousness I have when I say the bracha of Asher Yatzai, that was coming up for me a lot lately. The awareness of that bracha, which is, so to speak, after such a physical act, and yet, like who I could become with the awareness of the bracha of Asher Yatzar, can take me to the highest places in the world. These little bits, all these different tactics, the Rebbe was guiding us to understand and to internalize that this is actually what brings you to a place of eventually seeing that your full on holiness is just everywhere, right? And I think he's really addressing those that have such a longing to be like a flying angel, and they see like the big tzaddikim, they're like, I want to be like that, right? But he's saying, listen, who knows how they got to this place, right? And who knows how you're going to get there, but we know one thing, we could work through our bodies. And that's what he was really guiding us to do. But now he's going to stop, and he's like, Bachur v'avrech chasid. How do you know if it's working or not? So how do you know if it's actually happening? After everything I've learned, how do I know if all these tactics are really working, or am I just reading things and I know a lot of information, or have they actually made an impact in my life?
You feel it.
You applying them to your day-to-day?
You could apply tactics to your day-to-day all the time. How do you know if you become a changed human being more than just the peulot that you do? More than just the actions that you do? More than that. Boker Tov. Okay, so bottom of Kufay. Bachur ve'avrech chasid. Achar shebaruch Hashem iganu ad כה, we've gotten till here. Mukhrachim anu le'afsik be'emtza inyanenu. We got to stop in the middle of what we're talking about. We got to give you a sign for you to see where are you at. Let's see where you're at. סימן הזה יהיה מסור בידיך, שתדע בו אם עברת על דברינו עד כה בדרך קריאה בעלמא, או אם בעבודה עבדת עליהם. So the siman over here is going to be, and it's going to let you know, have you really implemented and taken in all the stuff we've said for you to do? Or have you just read and you can go and tell someone what the Piasetzna Rebbe says? I think about this a lot, because my mind is so focused right now on a lot. It's very focused on the curriculum for the chaver that are joining this machon. And I'm preparing curriculum and just thinking about a lot of different things, the chaver that are moving here. And one of the main things that I keep on coming back to is we want to produce leaders that really don't feel that it's that important that you could show people that you know what he says. It's important that you know what they say. But do you really feel it's important that you present yourself as someone that could tell you, a lot of people, what the other person says, what the Rambam says, what the Ramban says. It doesn't mean you don't quote the Ramban or the Rambam. Of course you do, but not a means of showing that you have that down. But rather, can you show how the Rambam is alive in what you're saying? Can you show how the Ramban is alive in how you're projecting and how you're sharing Torah? And I think the Rebbe here is really putting things in a really, he's really he's saying here, Chazak, let's see, did you read what we know, and you may even know what we said, or has this become part of your life? What's the siman? What's the sign? How do we know? I'd love to know. I'd love to know if there was any movement. there was any growth, if there was any birth happening. אם בעבודה עברת עליהם, שנפשך באמת שוקקה לעלות מן הביצה אל טהרתו וקדושתו יתברך, if you really went through it through avoda, which would result in your soul truly longing to ascend from the bitza. The bitza is the swamp, towards your purity and the holiness of Hashem. V'chol ha'etza ha'yi'utza lecha, and every piece of advice that will be given to you. V'chol trufa ha'muchtevet mimi shehu lenafshecha refuya ata atz lakachat ota, and you go and fill out the prescriptions that we've been prescribing for you. Ukvar itchalta gam la'avod ba'ofanim ha'elu, and you've actually started to work in a very methodological way on everything that this sefer has been giving you, that you've mamish taken it on. That's what he's saying, that you've literally taken it on. As tzarich v'gam uchrach ata kvar lir'ot becha eza shinui letova. Then it must be that you could already see differences in you for the best. If you're under the assumption that you've taken everything on and you're doing it and you still can't see any results, it's a siman that you're cheating on your diet and you just don't realize it. Like going to get weighed every week at Weight Watchers and you're shocked. How could it be that, right? And you're like, it only means that there's something that you're not realizing is wrong in what you think is the proper diet. Chayav liot. Why? Because if you were keeping it kmo shetzarich, if you're doing it right, then it must mean it must be that there will be some kind of a result. Chayav liot. We're so easy to say, no, I did everything right and it's still not working. The Rebbe is saying,
like a diet.
Huh?
Like a diet.
You're right. It's exactly what I said. Yeah, mamash. Same exact thing. Okay. Kvar tzrichot. Now, what does that mean that you'll see a shinui letova? What does it mean you'll already see a good change? Kvar tzrichot machshevotecha lachshov machshavot gdoshot. It would result in that you'd notice that your thoughts are already thinking holy thoughts. ובחזקה לחשבן ולציירן לפני עיניך יותר ממה שחשבה עד עתה. And you've also had the ability and the privilege to illustrate holy thoughts for longer moments and with a stronger mindset more than it was before. That's a siman that the work is actually happening or not. Is that what he says?
Yeah, I'm thinking it myself.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's the 3 weeks now, right? Like tonight, starting to do these 3 weeks. On Shabbos, there was a bat mitzvah here, and the girl, she did an amazing model of the Beis HaMikdash. Did any of you hear of it? I spoke about it for a second in Shul. She actually created a model of the Beis HaMikdash. This is what, yeah. And she kept it in my office over Shabbos to show the family. And I had to go down during Shabbos. Sometimes I don't usually go on Shabbos, but if I need a certain sefer that's there, I go in there. I went in there to get a certain sefer, and I see the model of the Beis HaMikdash on my desk. So talk about like taking things to the power of visualization. It's not just visualization; it's manifestation of visualization. Literally.
You weren't expecting to see it, huh?
I knew it was there. I just didn't.
You forgot.
You know what? I just thought that, like, okay, I'll notice that it's there and zeo.
Right.
But it doesn't. It did more to me than just noticing that it was there.
Wow.
It's like the way we are with our Sfarim. We notice that they're there in the room, but what does it do to us when we walk into a room? We see Sfarim.
Right.
Then we start having the guilt game, because then we realize it doesn't do anything to us. Then we start feeling guilty, so we walk into rooms like this, all these things. He says, not just that your visualization is more powerful. This is the fourth line from the bottom, and this is really important. ומוכרח אתה להתרגש יותר מאשר עד עתה. And it must be that you become a more mitragesh person. How does he say that, David? How does he say?
Experiencing more feeling?
Yeah, literally. It means like emotions and...
More sensitive?
Yeah.
Leif Basar.
Huh?
Leif Basar.
Yeah, that you're more heart of flesh. ומוכרח אתה להתרגש יותר מאשר עד עתה. With yira, ahava, shbirat alev, v'simcha. You're feeling more. You're feeling everything. You're feeling yira, you're feeling love, broken heart, you're feeling simcha. Lo rak kfi haofanim sherashamnu lecha. It's not just based on everything we wrote for you. Rak gam machshavot v'yitrakshuyot asher lo shi'arta otan ad כה. But rather things that you didn't even know existed before that are existing with you. You feel it. You feel it. מעצמן מתחדשות ועודלות לך מקרבך. It's already happening on its own from within you, that it becomes renewed. Like the Rebbe is saying over here, the goal of this Sefer is not only that the things that we're saying to you will start happening to you, even things we're not saying to you are happening to you. Why? Because you're your own world. And you're your own ma'arechet. You have your own system. This is very important. This is like a Rebbe really putting faith in the Talmud, saying whatever I could teach you, that should be happening as well. But there's also a whole other world called you and your chiddush. And if your avoda is Moshe Tzarich, then there'll be new things that are coming out from you, Bezrat Hashem. You understand this diuk? This is very important. ולא רק כפי האופנים שרשמנו לך, רק גם מחשבות והתקשקשויות אשר לא שיערת אותן עד כה מעצמן מתחדשות ועודלות לך מקרבך. It'll start coming from you as well. ויש, next paragraph, ויש שאתה מתאמה עליהן, מאין הן באות, מי ברא לי את אלה? And you may start asking, where did these come from and who created these feelings? אל תתמה על זה. כי כפי שהיית בספרים הקדושים, השגה, by me there's a tzere under the gimel. By you too? That's weird, right? I don't know what that, what does that mean with the tzere? Hasagol, slicha. Hasageh, no, you see?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a ta'ut, right? Yeah, it must be, okay. כי כפי שהיית בספרים הקדושים, like the holy books tell us, השגה גדולה היא להשיג את נפש איש הישראלי, ואנו אין משיגין אותה. It's an amazing hasaga, a reach, comprehension, to actually understand what it means to be connected to a Yiddish soul. And we don't really get there. Like, to understand the capacity of what it really is. It's like, I know I'm part of Am Yisrael. I know it's so special, but do I grasp the entirety of what it means to have a Nefesh Yisraeli? ובצדק, יכולים לאמור לכל איש ישראל מחוטב עצים ועד שואב מים, דע, כי לא אתה ולא אני יכולים להשיג את גדולתך, קדושתך הרבה על עצמותך. I could say, listen, from the lowest to the highest, I'm just not capable of really hopping who I really am because it's too big for me. I could say that. כבן מלך האסור בבור האסורים, דומה האיש הישראלי. The Rebbe says, you know what a Yid is like? He's like the son of a king who is held captive in a pit. That's what it's like. הכרוך בסמרטוטים מגואלים ובבלעות סחובות. And it's in this pit, he's also wrapped around smartotim megoalim. That means rags. Vile rags. And what's the next thing?
Worn tatters.
And worn tatters. Okay, never.
Sure.
You ever get wrapped up by a worn tatter? No?
Apparently.
You're not into worn tattering? לא זולתו ולא הוא בעצמו יכירו בו. כי בן יקיר הוא ברוח ומוח נשגבים. He's something else, but in his mind, he's something, but really, no one can recognize him. אבל כאשר רק יתחילו להסיר ממנו את בגדיו הסחובות, but once they begin to remove from him these tattered clothings, ומכל שכן, כאשר מבחוץ גם את שיר המלך, אשר ישוררו המשוררים יאזין. But once you start hearing to the orchestra of the king and listening to the nigunan of that monarch of the royal orchestra, kama yitba'er gamhu, he'll start to burn up. Yakum yisagev bechulo yitramem, he will arise. All of him will arise. Ubeshir yiten kolo, and his own voice will be able to start to produce a nigun, a sound. Kulam min shirato yitmehu, and everyone will be astonished will be blown away from his nigun. Vechulam lifnei pisgat ra'ayonotav v'asagotav yitbatlu, And then, let me just finish this and I'll explain it. V'yomru re'eze davar chadash shelo yida'anuhu. The Rebbe, it's an amazing thing. The Rebbe is describing something that I believe we see also very much in the words of Rav Kook in that song, Meshorer HaTshuva. Do you know that song, Meshorer HaTshuva? But Meshorer HaTshuva, right? We wrote that song for Rav Weinberger. Meshorer HaTshuva, those are the first words that Rav Weinberger ever learned from Rav Kook. And the words there, I just want to explain the words because it's very much in the context here. Oh, poet of return, have you been born yet? And if you're still up there in the sky and you haven't come down yet, Mehera reda, come down fast. Come down fast. Mehera reda, ve'orer kinorcha. Start playing your kinor, your violin, your harp. Mehera reda ve'orer kinorcha. Why? Like start tshuva mad. Like a yid, the yid that wants to come home. Have you been able to voice your longing yet? Because the second you do, what's going to happen? Yishmeu kol dak elev, ya'azinu kol arle ruach. All the oppressed people, all those that have been waiting to find some type of voice, some type of sound that they could associate with, they're waiting. They're waiting. Maybe it's your voice. Maybe it's your expression of wanting to come home is what they need to hear in order for them to start expressing that they want to come home. Yishmeu kol dak elev yazinu kol arle ruach lehemyat nevalecha, to the orchestra of your nigunim, v'shavu v'chayu, and they come back home and they start to be alive. So the Rebbe, it's a little bit different here, but what the Rebbe is saying over here is that when you start singing your nigun, when you start to listen to what's really going on in the world, in the higher worlds, you'll start producing things that you could have never imagined and people could have definitely never imagined. It's like sometimes you see someone, but you know them when they're younger. And if you'd be asked about that person, tell me, what do you think is going to be from this person? What kind of chiddush are they going to be in the world? Chiddush? Please. Let's hope they don't end up in jail. And then you see them a few years later, right? And they're starting to say a word, the Torah. So the cynical mind says, oh, look, they just flipped out Shana Aleph, right? The deeper the neshama is, it could be like, wow, somehow they found the song of their soul. Somehow they found the song of their soul. There's something there, and you'll be blown away by what you're hearing from their voice. But it takes so much humility to humble ourselves, to receive from someone that we thought has no chance of ever enlightening me. They can't enlighten me. That can't happen, right? It takes such humility to be able to really allow ourselves to be not just enlightened, but like driven to higher places from someone that I wouldn't necessarily think, because I already had all my preconceived notions about who they are, what they're going to be, and what they're going to do. Now, the Rebbe is saying, you know what's even harder? When you do that to ourselves, when we do it to ourselves. Like, I have all these preconceived notions of me, so I say to myself, even if I end up sounding holy, it's just going to be a nice fake imitation. He's saying that's the saddest thing, because to really grasp who I am is so much bigger than anything that I could express, anything I could express. And that's just why it brought me to that nigunan of Rav Kook, because it seemed like there was a lot of similarity over here. But to really be able to to be able to keep on going, even if I don't feel a chiddush right away, is really important. Because don't be deterred right now from what I'm saying. It's like, no, if you're really on the right path, you'll hear your own chiddush as well. Not necessarily. And he ends off this section like this. Look at the top of Kuf Zayin. Kol echad lefi erech shekara b'kriya im avoda bezrat Hashem yitbarach chidushei nafsho be'ofanei avoda yargish im me'at ve'im harbe. Each person, in accordance to however the avoda that he read about will take place in his life, bezrat Hashem yitbarach, the chidush of his soul will show up, whether it's a little bit or a lot. אבל גם אם לא תרגיש עוד בך התחדשות מפני שרק כקורא איזה מעשה וסיפור שלא לשם עבודה, עברת על כל זה. But the Rebbe is saying, but if you've still been in this shir for about 74 shiurim already, and you still haven't found an imprint of the work that we've been discussing, lemaisa in your life, don't start, declaring that you're the biggest fraud and think that you're nobody and that you're nothing and go into a dark place. Al yipol ruchacha gam az al yipol libcha. Don't let your heart be broken from it. I mean, think about it. How many times have we gone through the Torah? How many times have we learned every parsha, right? Can I really say that every time I've learned each parsha, I've especially you're learning Ishbitzer, Shabbos morning, right? How many times can you say, I've implemented the concept of the tikkun of my neshama based on the Meh Shilach every week? So he says like this, don't get downhearted if you see that you haven't really done the work and it hasn't taken you to a place where you discover new chidushim about yourself and what you could bring to the table. Rak gmor et hakuntres, finish the sefer, uchfol v'shalesh likroto. Read it again, and read it again. Ubakriya hashniya, hachbed yoter et ha'avoda alecha. And second time around, demand more of yourself from what you're learning. ואז בעזרת השם יתברך תרגיש 500 שנה גבוהים השמיים מן הארץ ואי אפשר לפסוע אותם בפסיעה אחת. That is so deep. That ending over here. He says over here, actually, David, how does he translate the last sentence?
The distance between the heavens and the earth is 500 years. That cannot be spanned in a single step.
So he's saying, what are we trying to do here? Like, what are we trying to accomplish over here, right? We're trying to accomplish, basically, like he says over here, the end over here, the merchak between Shamayim and Aretz. Like, we're trying to bridge a certain gap here that's between heaven and earth. So what's heaven? Like, to sum up, even though it's interesting, this perek is, if you see, it's a very long perek, but it was cut up in a weird way, because here we just did Aleph. Then there's Bet, but it's in the same perek. But what did we do basically until now? Where did we start from? The Rebbe is saying, I have some good news and bad news. The bad news is, the good news is, the bad news is, you're Eretz. The good news is, wow, what you could do with Eretz. Right? That's basically how it starts. You're Eretz, you're the earth, right? You're here. But the good news is, wow, we have so much to do with it, right? We have so much to do with it. Then he continues and he says, you're going to look at people that are shamayim, and what is that going to make you feel? That Eretz is shvach and Eretz is bad and everything like that. You're going to want to figure out to crack a code that, like he says over here, in one psia, in one step, that you're going to become shamayim. Everyone wants that. Remember, who had, you definitely didn't have this. Who had Contra?
What's Contra?
I think that's what it was called.
Video game?
It was a Nintendo, right? It was, you had it? No, that's like, you're holding the parsha. Is that what it was called? Contra? It was because there was a video game that there's all these levels to reach, right? But then at a certain point, Stephen Eagle once spoke about it in Shul, 22113. There's some kind of a code that you could do in the beginning that you'd get from, and you're starting in Aretz, right? But there was a code that you could figure out how to get to, like,
Level 50.
whatever it was, to Shamayim, okay? Now think about that for a second. Let's say you did that, right? What does that game mean to you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You didn't work for it.
Nothing. But you're looking at people in Shamayim, and you're like, but they seem like they're valuing Shamayim. And the Rebbe is saying, oh yeah, they're valuing Shamayim. You know why?
Because they worked
Because they were also in Aretz. And they worked at it, and they didn't use the code. They didn't know the code. They didn't know that you could jump, you could jump all these. They didn't know it. Thank God. So here, you want the code, use it. You'll be there, nothing. That's what the Rebbe is saying. And the distance between, and it's so beautiful, he's saying, the distance between Shamayim and Aretz, 500 shana. It's 500 years of difference between heaven and earth. So if you've learned this Sefer, the Rebbe is saying, and you're still feeling nothing, your ego is telling you, this isn't for me. That's what he's saying. It's your ego that says, whatever, it didn't work. I sat here, I learned, I came to every 74 shiurim. I'm learning every shiur. Didn't work. The Rebbe says, humble yourself. Finish the book. Finish the Sefer. And you know what? And then you know what you do? You open it up again. Start all over. Do Chazara again. What do we do when we finish the Torah? The same minute we finish the Chamushi Chumshei Torah, Bereshis bara Elokim Sashmayim v'Saaretz. I'm going to tell you a Gavaldik Torah I was working on 3 weeks ago from Rav Shlomo, and you'll see it, Be'ez Hashem, V'zel Sabracha. It says, what's the last pasuk in the Torah? What's the last few words? Le'enei kol Yisrael. That Moshe Rabbeinu did something, Le'enei kol Yisrael. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do in the eyes of all of Am Yisrael? He broke the Torah. Rashi tells us over there, Yesher koyach sheshibarta. Hashem was telling Moshe Rabbeinu, Yesher koyach sheshibarta. Shkoyach for breaking the Torah. There's a lot of different explanations. But the Torah ends off by explaining to us that the last thing Moshe Rabbeinu did was that he did something in front of all of Am Yisrael. He broke it. Why would we want to end off like that? Why would we want to end the Torah like that? Because the point of the Torah is not only how you end, but how you restart. So the point is that the Torah ends by saying, Le'enei kol Yisrael, there was a falling, and then you start right away, Bereshit bara Elokim Sashmayim v'Saaretz. That's Olam Hazeh. In the Torah of Olam Ha'em, of up there, there's no Bereshit bara Elokim, because it's just, whatever that Torah is, it ends on a nice note, and it's Shemayim. Here it's like, we start we start very low, whatever, we work our way up, and we come back down, only to restart all over again. That's the program. That's how it works over here.
That's what they say about the tzaddikim, that they fall and get up 7 times. Not that they just fall, but they get up.
Well, they get up. Yeah.
Frank Sinatra will say,
Ah.
get down, get up again. It's fascinating to me that in the physical world, any
Did he come to entertain you guys when you were little?
Frank?
Yeah.
No, I
He's
never
the
heard of that.
Frank.
Best one.
No, I got to tell you a funny story. You know that I some of the Chevra know. I had one Shabbos with Tony Bennett. I spent the Shabbos with Tony Bennett. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a crazy story. His daughter converted and married a close friend of mine. So I went in to do the chuppah.
Wow.
So it was wild. It was crazy. The chuppah was Sunday. It was Lag BaOmer, I think. And so Friday night at our friend's house, we're having Shabbos dinner with Tony Bennett.
Wow.
It's a crazy story. Tony Bennett is sitting there and he's looking at me the whole night and he's writing something down in a journal. It was very weird. And I had just landed, mamish from Israel, one of these direct flights. I was so jet lagged, I couldn't tell I couldn't tell if any of this was actually real. And then I couldn't tell at all if this is actually happening right now. And he's sitting down and he looks at me and the whole time, he keeps on looking at me. And he's writing something. This is bizarre. This is weird. He gets up at the end of the night and he rips off from a journal he had. He's like, you got a beautiful voice, kid. And he gives me this paper, and he's basically he's an artist. He did a portrait of me.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually incredible. Yossi, did I ever show you the portrait? Huh?
Is it a hanging?
No, I can't. I want my mother to know. I can't find it. I have a picture of it, but I can't find the actual... So anyway, why am I saying this? Because Frank, you said Frank. Everyone was so nervous about what is going on here. We're spending Shabbos with Tony. That the Baalat Habayit was referring to him as Frank during the during the Suda.
Wow.
And she's like, "Oh my God!" Like because they're
You see one Italian, you see them all.
Do you know what it was like explaining to Tony at the Chasenstish what's going on and what the Badekin's going to be like, and then asking him to give a bracha to his daughter as the veil. It was surreal. Anyway, back to Frank. Sorry, I got a little tangent there.
It's fascinating. But nobody reasonable is going to say that I want to be a doctor overnight. Right? I'm starting in
Right,
medical profession.
right,
Within a year, I expect to be a top surgeon and whatever.
right.
Nobody, not in programming, not in anything. But somehow in
Spirituality.
Spirituality,
It's
we're
very
like,
interesting
ooh.
what you're saying. I don't know why it's like that. Maybe because we think it's like we have access to like magic or something. It's very accurate what you're saying.
you're living in
Really
a
Malam in a Teva. I'm
Huh?
sorry, really Malam in a Teva.
So if I'm a Malam in a Teva, right? If I could
then I
grasp,
should be able to get the spirituality without having to do the work into it.
if I could grasp a little bit of my nefesh elokis, my nefesh Israeli, which he said before, we can't. But if I could become heaven overnight.
Or maybe because we know it's the hardest thing that actually to do, and therefore we want to skip over that hard part as much as we can.
Harder than even becoming a
Yes.
doctor or a lawyer, right? Right.
That's actually hard.
Because
on
it's
your
too
nefesh.
hard.
Because it's too hard on your nefesh.
Is that expectation new? Is that
No,
new thing?
I don't think so.
People have always had that?
No, I think it's
For
I think
spirituality.
it's more common today to think that you could jump faster. Definitely, yeah, because of that world we're in. But I think that it was always, listen, this is 100 years ago, meaning,
Yeah,
I think it was always somewhere where there's this Indian of like, I see a tzaddik, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. And then I realize I'm not like that, so my ego says, you're never going to be that. Right?
That's just your ego, it's your Yetzirah.
Same
Low
thing.
self-esteem
Yeah.
is clearly not a Jewish concept. Is a really wrong thing in Jewish concept.
Correct. But I think that over here, it's more than that. He's saying to us also. He's like, listen, it's clear that it's almost impossible to be aware of how much is in you. We know that. But even if you were aware of how much is in you, you'd still have to do the work. La'efech. The more you actually get to know your value, the more that every halacha, the more that every chavrusa, that every moment, that every mitzvah, that every moment of awareness becomes more and more valuable to you. Not the opposite. It's not that you look at these things, you're like, what do I have to bother with Hilchot Birkat HaMazon? I could be talking about, Tikkun oil, and that's what happened in the world. Tikkun olam. That's exactly what happened, you see? They went to words as if we understand what that is. Tikkun olam. It became such a sexy phrase. Tikkun olam. Tikkun olam was like we say the taken olam b'malchut shin daled yud. This is the highest place of being able to fix things, complete things, everything. But what about all the small stuff? Whatever that.
That's part of the jumping ahead.
Mamash. He's saying over here. Basically, Tikkun Olam, Chevre, en 500 shana ben shamayim va'aretz. Efo, היה פעם. We used to be that it took 500 years. Today, מה פתאום? And I don't know, like I'm looking around the room, Baruch Hashem, I'm surrounded by people here that understand that there are no shortcuts. There's more access today. That's 100% true. We have a lot more access today than to the things that will bring shamayim into our lives, but everyone's here is very aware there are no shortcuts. Doesn't mean the work is just as, I don't want to say hard. I don't know what the right word is exactly. The fact that we have all this access doesn't make
It's a lifelong
Yeah.
process.
real. Yeah.
It's a lifelong
Yeah.
process.
But to say that with a smile,
Yeah.
and not right, that's the whole avodah.
Yeah.
Wow, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be talking about these
Unless
things.
you're Madonna, you live in Kabbalah.
That whole thing is.
Skip over everything.
I want to do the work, meaning that's the thing to say. It's a lifelong journey. Like this is like the most beautiful thing in the world. It's the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yeah. What else you got to do?
Like, what else are you here to do? What else would you think happens once you crack the Tikkun Olam thing? Like, tikkun olam, we took care of that one. Well, now what? Now what do you do? What's left then, right? What's left then? But I found this last paragraph to be like very powerful, where the Rebbe is saying all the tactics, you know them all, you can quote them back to me. They're still not showing up in your life. Don't close the Sefer. Do not close the Sefer. Finish it. Finish it. And then read it again. And then read it again. And the second time you read it and the words are more familiar with you, yalla,
Expect more from yourself.
be it you. Take on more. And that's how we got to the whole concept of we learn the Torah again. We learn the Torah. We finish it. And the same 10 minutes we finish it, we start it all over all again, because like David's saying, what else are you going to do? What else are you here to do? Right? That's Tikkun Olam. That's Tikkun Olam. Anyway, we should be Zoche Bezrat Hashem to love that this is our chelik. To love it, to love the fact this is our chelik, and to take in the words of the Rebbe, of the Piasetzna Schus Yagen Aleinu. And every time we learn, every single day, every moment, every interaction, a shtickle more awareness of who I am, and not to get so intimidated by the fact that I probably won't ever chop the full me, because I'd probably expire. It'd probably be too much, like Moshe Rabbeinu having to wear a mask, a masveh, coming down. It'd probably be too much. So, but just to be like thankful for any moment of revelation while I'm still in a physical body. All right, Chaverim, share good news. We're going to learn Friday morning, and then I'll announce for the rest of the next week and the week after, Bezrat Hashem, how it's going to be. All right?
Interesting.
Yeshar koach.